So for starters, it was fun, but eventually it gets boring. But I said, I'm just gonna do this. So here are a couple of stats. So I'm just about to play my last game and hopefully I'm gonna win that. But I wanna analyze my 99 games, which is technically already 100, right? Well, it isn't. But anyway, let me just show this as a percentage. If you take a look at the matchup spread, the red ones are my bad matchups, and it looks like I'm a 43% win against Druid, a 40% against Warlock, so this is mostly Quest Warlock, and a 46% win rate against Rogue. The losses against Rogue are mostly Thief Rogue and a couple of Poison Rogues, but they're mostly Thief, and it's been pretty tough because a lot of them are running Rustrot Viper. Also, most likely, these rogue players are just generally better players than me. That's why I have a lower win rate against them. For Quest Warlock, it's very hard to win because they could just win with Giants, and even if we do a Scab's turn, the Giants just come back the next turn. So I have to be really lucky to consecutively have Cloak of Shadows in hand and have lethal after I play those Cloak of Shadows, which could be pretty hard against Warlocks, Giants, and healing. As for the Druid matchup, it's mostly ramp. So they actually ramp so fast, and after they get to Solar Eclipse and Cenarion Ward, it's pretty hard to do an OTK. Although there would be some games that I could still pull off like 40 damage, but that's actually very rare. The rest of the field looked pretty green. Demon Hunters 50%, Hunters 50%. Actually, I think I only played 4 games against Hunters, so it's a 2-2 score. That's why it's just a 50% win rate. And Demon Hunter has been also a no-show. I'm surprised with the Paladin matchup. I actually win games even with Kariel, the Lightforged Kariel coming into play. And even if I did not run Rustrot Viper for majority of this climb, I somehow pull off the OTKs even with Kariel there, so that's kind of surprising. Mozaki Mage is really a good matchup. Um, they have to focus on your face, I think, if they want to win, because most of them, I don't know, they stall, but they don't really use the ignites on the face. They really wait for Mozaki and they can't deal with the weapon. Some of them run Rust but for those that don't, it's just an easy win actually. The mages I've lost to are mostly hero power mage. Sometimes they could damage you really fast with Mask of Cthulhu, because Mask of Cthulhu goes through your Cloak of Shadows, and they could repeat that a couple of times with the hero and the bird thing. I forget the name, but yeah, Priest is a very easy matchup. It's even better than Mage and Paladin. So as you can see here, this is 89%. And I think the reason for this is they really don't have counterplay. I mean, they're very slow. Sometimes they go for the Death Rattle package with armors and heals, but unless they get, that demon that gains 8 armor and have it die a couple of times, 30 damage is pretty easy to OTK, especially against slow decks. Shaman is a pretty okay matchup. I usually lose if it's like freeze, where they go for the early the 4-drop spell that puts a 3/4 that freezes every end of turn. So if they get to freeze me, weapon rogue is kind of useless, and I can't keep removing the 3/4s with my spells because I actually need the spells to OTK. And I'm talking about Wicked Stab, so I can't just go Wicked Stab on all 3, especially if I only run 2 copies of Wicked Stab. I mean, that's the only thing you have in your deck, 2 copies. So the 3/4 that freezes is pretty hard, and most of my losses against Shaman are the freeze type. Lastly, we have Warrior. This was also surprising to me. I was afraid of this matchup, to be honest, because the quest reward of Warrior is very powerful. It scales, it's late game, it deals 2 damage, 4 damage when the Juggernaut is out. So 4 damage every turn, and you can't stop that with Cloak of Shadows. But to be honest, I've been winning because of Cloak of Shadows, because they can't attack me. And if they don't run a taunt or they're quite slow, I would have likely drawn my deck at that point that I could OTK. Actually, even if they have taunts, you could OTK with the Garrote and the whole package. As you could see here, I have 3 different versions of the deck. So my first version, I played 17 games with this. This is the stock HS replay deck list. The version I copied ran 2 Sinister Strikes, and after a couple of games, I thought to myself, where is the SI7 Extortion? I mean, it's an early removal card, and it's tradable, so I think I'm missing out on that. So what I did for my second version is I removed 1 Sinister Strike and I included 1 SI7 Extortion. So yeah, this was the deck list I mostly climbed with, and it's pretty great. You can see all of my win rates in all 3 of these decks are positive and a bit high. However, when my rank was getting a bit better, when I was entering the 2000s, because I actually came from almost 5000, you know. When now that I was in the 2000s, I faced a lot of mirrors, and I said, I think I need Rustrot Viper as well. So for my third version, what I did was I cut a card for the Rustrot Viper, and that is 1 Blackwater Cutlass. So why'd I do that? I think it was okay. Like, there were many games in which I didn't really need multiple discounting of the Blackwater Cutlass, and I thought, why not just remove 1 tradable to add the Rustrot Viper, which is another tradable. And it worked, because against mirror matchups, against Paladin, we get to destroy weapons, so it's a very flexible card. But of course, there are bad things that go with this kind of list, but you can't really have a perfect list. You have to fit it in your meta, and my meta for the last few games has been mirrors. Okay. Alright, so let's skip the boring stuff. What have I learned in playing the deck itself, like the intricacies and stuff I didn't know about before? Alright, so first, I think most people know this. I only got to know it during my part of the climb, which is after a lot of games. So it's actually if you have a full hand or an almost full hand, then you secret passage. Then you keep drawing cards with tradable stuff or cutting class or, you know, swindle. And I thought, what happens to the rest of my hand? Like, let's say if I had 10 cards in hand, then I played Secret Passage, there would be 9 left, then I kept drawing cards. So apparently, you will mill the rightmost cards in your original hand before you Secret Passage. A bit of common sense, but I only learned that after a lot of games, and I really checked out what was happening there. So that's one thing I learned. Another thing I learned is on your opening hand, after your mulligan, if you have a bunch of tradable cards and you're not sure about the matchup, what you'd want to do is trade the rogue cards. So for example, if you have Cutlass and Guild Trader and Rustrot Viper, for example, what you want to do is trade the Cutlass. Unless, of course, you know you're facing, let's say, Hunter and you want to clear an early 2-2. But most of the time, you want to trade your rogue card, because if you trade your guild trader or your rust-rot, there is a bigger chance that you draw it again, and it does not discount your wild pawn nulls because they are neutral cards. In line with that, I became iffy to put the rust-rot because it adds a neutral in my deck, and I want my wild pawn nulls more often than not to be 0 to cast. There will be some games that you wish you were more patient, like I wish it was 0 to cast instead of 1. There would be those kinds of fringe games where that would matter. So I think the Guild Trader and the Rustrat Viper having two neutrals is kind of a factor. Maybe not most of the time, but there would be instances where you wish it wasn't a neutral card that you kept drawing again early in the game. Another thing I learned, so this will be all matchup dependent from now on, all these things I've learned. Another thing I learned is if you know already like mid game you're facing a control deck and you think they potentially have Mutinous, what you want to do is you keep trading that guild trader. You do not want that to get Mutinous. I would have to say Guild Trader is probably the MVP of this deck because late game, and after you have the Scab's hero power, you pop that out, Guild Trader becomes 2 to cast, and then you just go face with your Wicked Stabs if you haven't used them. Late game, that's going to be 8 damage a pop. You have Sinister Strike, that's going to be 5 damage, so that's 21 damage. You have your Garrotes, which would do 4 damage a pop, so yeah, that's a lot of damage. You could do 30 plus in the most perfect of games, but if your games aren't perfect, 20 plus damage in one turn would most likely close out the game unless it's super late game and you're against Druid with tons of armor. But yeah, against most matchups, it's crazy, and if you're against Control, do not give them the chance to mutinous your guild trader. Against Mozaki Mage, it's a good matchup, but I think I lost 2 games against it. So when I reviewed my 2 losses against Mozaki Mage, what I did was I coined out the Swine Tusk Shank. But actually you're not in a hurry against Mage. Maybe sometimes you would like to do that and it would be fine. But in my experience, if I waited patiently enough, I Swine Tusk on 3, the coin could do much better things in the mid to late game to help you survive against Mozaki Mage. So the thing with Mozaki Mage is you just get to Cloak of Shadows at the right time. You have to look at their deck list. What have they played? For example, if they have Encounters flowed, you probably won't die on turn 7. Probably you would on turn 8. So you could Cloak on Shadows of 7 while of course building up your Swine Tusk Shank early in the game and trying to close it out before they Mozaki. But if you haven't closed it out, you need to time that Cloak of Shadows well, and it's really gonna be a good matchup against Mozaki Mage. That same piece of advice or thing that I learned also works against Priest, but Priest is an easier matchup because they can't OTK you. And it would also hold true for Druid, but I found out that with Druid it's okay to coin the Swine Tusk Shank. Actually, this is all very, dependent on the situation, but I think most of the time you should not coin for the Swine Tusk Shank. There has to be a really good reason or foreseeing based on the early plays if you're gonna do this. And if it's against Control, it's okay to be patient. It's just very hard to play against Ram Druid because again, they could generate tons of armor. So it is the worst matchup, but my advice is still be patient with the Swine Tusk. Use the coin for something else. use the coin to OTK potentially in the mid to late game. The coin might matter. Another thing I've learned is since majority of your matchups are probably gonna be against Rogue, you would want to keep Wild Pawn Null. But after so many games, I think my win rate was better if I just mulligan the Wild Pawn Null. I mean, if you're not against a minion based deck, it's cool to have a turn 1 to 3 Wild Pawn Null. But I think it's still much better to look for your Swine Tusk Shank early, because if you're against control and you play a 4-5 and they somehow deal with it, or like if you play both, I've lost to a priest against this, they hysteria'd, and I couldn't draw the Swine Tusk Shank for the rest of the game, like turn almost 9 or 10. And yeah, I just wished I did not play those nulls. So unless you're in a tournament, you know what your matchup is, I suggest you mulligan that Wild Pawn null. You could find it anyway with Swindle. Of course, the Swindle lessens the consistency of getting the null because I put in Rustrat Viper. But it's cool. You could remove Rustrat Viper, so you would have the Guild Trader, the two nulls, and Maestra. And that would be better chances for you to get the null. So don't worry too much about not having null in your opening hand. I think it's better to go with your game plan. Your game plan number 1 is, of course, to build up your weapon. Okay, sorry for this. And my final learning was play a lot of games, but try not to misplay. Because if you're playing and you're not playing with a deck tracker, or you're watching Netflix, you are distracted, you would most likely misplay even if you think you won't. And that will tilt you, and that would lead you to not play this deck and think it's weak. But it's actually, I think, one of the most powerful, if not the most powerful deck in the game right now in standard. So, I mean, why is Scabs gonna get a nerf? Why are there nerf announcements for Rogue? It's because it's just that good. So, one thing I've learned also is if you're a bit unlucky with, let's say, Secret Passage, don't worry about it too much. Just go on to the next game. Because if you dwell on it and you did not get that Cloak of Shadows, even if there were only a few cards left in the deck, just get over it. Just play the next game, do your best, and the law of averages will make you win more if you're a careful player anyway, if that makes sense. So just to give you an idea, let's say if you Secret Passage and you're looking for a Cloak of Shadows to survive and potentially win the next turn, you have 5 cards left in the deck. None of them are, let's say, none of them are tradable, and you just want to get Cloak of Shadows. You still have a 1 in 5 chance that you do not get the Cloak of Shadows, but 80% of the time you will have it. I have the mathematical equation for this. It's just n minus r over r factorial. You subtract the probability that you don't get it from n minus 1 minus 1 over r factorial. Never mind. But yeah, if you have 5 cards left, there's a 20% chance you don't get the single card that you need. If there are 6 cards left, there's a 1/3 chance you don't get what you need. And if there's 7 cards left, you have like a 42.8% chance. So you get the picture. Just don't let it get to you. Secret Passage is not a sure win kind of card. It is very powerful, but yeah, there will be games that happens to you. You get a bit unlucky. Just push past it and be the better player next game. Alright, so I think that's pretty much it. If you enjoy this video, it's quite long of just me talking most of the time, but if you enjoy this content, please like and subscribe. And yeah, I'll see you again next time. Alright, if we're against Warlock, it's a pretty bad matchup, but surprisingly, this is just my 6th game against Warlock. So it's gonna be Quest Warlock. Unless it's Rogue, there's always a huge chance it's Rogue. But yeah, we just keep the Cutlass. That's it. Okay, pretty good, but we need a Swine Tusk Shank. Okay, it's Quest Warrior. This might be a loss, but it's fine. It is a bad matchup, and even HS Replay says so, so let's not worry too much about losing this game. So yeah, this one is neutral, so it does not discount the null. I think I just keep cycling. Right, next turn I might go for Coin, Secret Passage if I don't get the Swine Tusk Shank. So yeah, we're giving Warlock so much here. Okay, do I have the Coin? Yeah, it's better to use Coin than Prep in this case because Prep won't maximize the discount from a 1-cost spell. Okay, we got the Shank. But yeah, that's quite unfortunate. Let us hope that this Warlock does not run Viper. If he does, we are very behind. But it's gonna be okay. If this gets destroyed, I think I'm just gonna Hero Power Deadly Poison and Cutting Class. But the problem is, Warlock has Raise Dead, so if that's just the Rust-Rot dying and another card, they get the Rust-Rot again. Okay, we're glad we're damaging the opponent here. There's a possibility that he held the Rust-Rot. I wouldn't be surprised, but let's hope not. Okay, at least we have the second Swine Tusk just in case. Oh my god! Okay, I messed up this game. I'm so sorry. I meant to trade the Guild Trader, but I kinda clicked on the... I'm an idiot. I apologize. This was supposed to be a good last game, and I messed it up. So that's the thing, I have my mic on here with me. I guess I lost concentration or got distracted. It is sort of an excuse, and I'm sorry. But yeah, it happens. Alright, let's still hope we could win though, but I doubt.
Another happy guildie.
Okay. Do we kill this now? Actually, I want a Garrote, even if it's too early. I think I kill this. Yeah, this is terrible. I wouldn't say I would have won if I did not make that misplay. Warlock might be terrible. A really terrible matchup, so... Yeah, but for entertainment purposes, I'm not gonna delete this video. It's a good example of concentrating. I mean, there was no reason for me to play the new Shank. Alright. Oh, this is good. I'll just go do this, attack, then cloak. Oh, but this guy... Nah, whatever. The reason why I'm cloaking is Battleground Battlemaster. That's pretty much it. But yeah, I would still stream this deck, so if you guys are interested, check out my YouTube. I stream like 11:30 p.m. Philippine time if you're interested. It's fine. We could scabs, but man, I think we lost this game. I got a Cloak of Shadows again. Okay, we could go for the no. Do I know though? Yeah, I might mess up the raid bed.
Smell you.
They're just gonna heal. I think I should have killed the 1-3. What was I thinking? Might see Touch of the Natrism right now, and there's there's none. Okay. Let's just do this. Could actually garrote. If I garrote, I get to draw 2, 4. Wait, we're drawing 2 cards. Do I garrote? Let's try one. They're gonna mess up their hand space anyway. Okay, could we win? Just one garrote though, I don't think we can. Alright, did the Mutanus go back from the scabs? Yes, it did. We're in trouble. Well, Mutanus is 7 to cast, so... Okay, I won't give the opponent a target. Alright.
My hand is too full. More bones to
Yeah, we're just gonna see the bristleback. Oh, not from Mutanus. Ah, that's so unfortunate. But did they get to heal? They got to heal a total of 1 this turn. Then they can't heal anymore, right? Yeah, they can't heal anymore with this. Alright, I was lucky. Even with that dumb misplay, we still won the game. So we end with 58%. This is a 16 win-loss deficit, or the opposite of deficit. That's legend. It's 100 games, but yeah, I got legend earlier with a fewer sample size. But anyway, try this deck out. It's pretty good. And I hope you enjoyed this video. And I'll see you guys again. Please subscribe. Bye-bye.